start with the term ethics. It is derived from the Greek word ethikos, meaning custom or character. The dictionary defines ethic as the treating of moral question, but this definition is imprecise and leaves a number of loose ends. Whose morals? Which moral questions? Business ethics covers diverse areas ranging from labor practices, free and fair trade, health concerns, euthanasia to animal welfare, environmental concern to genetic modification to human cloning. Perhaps the definition comes closest to providing a workable definition. Ethics is a code of behavior considered correct. What the society considered correct may have been arrived by the crystallization of consumer pressure on corporations and governments and regulatory forces. It is the science of morals describing a set of rules of behavior. Business ethic itself is an offshoot of applied ethics. The study of business ethic essentially deals with understanding what is right and morally good in business. Ethics is a branch of philosophy and is considered a normative science because it is concerned with the norms of human conduct as distinguished from formal sciences such as mathematics and logic, physical sciences such as chemistry and physics, and empirical sciences such as economics and psychology. As a science, ethics must follow the same rigors of logical reasoning as other sciences. Ethics as a science involves systemizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. The principles of ethical reasoning are useful tools for sorting out the good and bad components within complex human interaction. For this reason, the study of ethics has been at the heart of intellectual thought since the time of early Greek philosopher, and its ongoing contribution to the advancement of knowledge and science makes ethics a relevant, if not vital, aspect of management theory. Values of business ethics. Students, can you guess what could be possible value of business ethics? Business ethics are related to issues of what is right and what is wrong while doing business. The constituents of business ethics include adherence to truth, a commitment to justice, and public integrity. What values are to individual ethics are to business. Personal values, as seen earlier, refer to a conception of what an individual or group regards as desirable. A value is a view of life and judgment of what is desirable that is very much part of a person's personality and a group's morale. Thus, a balanced attitude to labor welfare is a value which may prompt an industrialist to do much more for workers than what the labor law stipulates.
First of all, ethics in general is the study of standards of behavior that promote human welfare and what is often called the good. The good, of course, can extend this concern to animal welfare, to the value of the physical environment in and of themselves, as well as for how they serve human welfare. Business ethics is the study of those standards of business behavior which do the same thing, which promote human welfare and the good. But it is business behavior that is specifically the concern of business ethics. What is ethics in general about? Well, it's about how we behave, behave, the standards by which we guide our behavior and determine what we do day to day in life. Ethics is also about relationships. It's about how we treat one another, even those we don't know. So let's talk about what ethics is not and some of the common misconceptions about what it is. Ethics is not just about feelings or about conscience. Conscience is helpful in ethics as one guide, but conscience in general is not adequate, nor are our feelings of queasiness about certain kinds of behavior. Ethics really goes beyond those to think in intellectual and rational and practical terms about how our behavior affects others. It's also not the same and not just about religion. While religion brings us many insights about how we ought to behave and what is virtuous, for example, religion often does not address all of the complex questions that we need to get at when we think about ethics. And certainly ethics is not just about following the law, although we hope our laws reflect the ethical standards that we consider to be important. The law often lags our standards of ethics, or there may be areas in which it's impossible to legislate or to create standards and laws that address certain kinds of behavior. Ethics is certainly not about just following what everybody else does. Some people would argue that it is simply whatever is the common practice in a particular society or community. I think that's a very inadequate definition of what ethics is, because ethics should be something which is more common and universal and completely shared amongst those who think deeply about these issues. And it's certainly not about what we can do technologically or scientifically. There are some things that we can do, maybe in the area of internet privacy or in the area of manipulation of cells, that we ought not to do for a variety of ethical reasons. So it's not just about what can be done. Ethics can really be thought about at three very different levels. Ethics can be thought about as how we act as individuals. It can be about how our organizations act, how they're structured to act. And it can be about the broad system or society, how we structure our society, how we structure the systems of taxation or the systems of healthcare and the ethical implications of those. So ethics can be considered at any of those three levels. Business ethics, similarly, can be thought about at those three levels. It can be thought about how we act as individuals in business, how we structure our business organizations, and therefore the way those organizations direct and guide and incent people to act. And it can be about how we structure our business society, how we incorporate organizations to participate in commerce.
Ethics and moral theories. The term ethics generally describes the way we look at and understand life situations in terms of good and bad or right and wrong. Moral theories are the frameworks we use to justify or clarify our position or action when we ask ourselves, what choice would I make in this situation? Or, for me, what is right or wrong? There are many moral theories, none of which are completely right. They overlap and often borrow from one another. Virtue ethic theory dates back to Aristotle, also referred to as agent-based or character ethic. The virtue ethic theory judges a person by his character rather than by an action that may deviate from his normal behavior. For example, if a person plagiarized a passage that was later detected by a peer, the peer who knows the person well will understand the person's character and will be able to judge the friend. If the plagiarizer normally follows the rules and has good standing amongst his colleagues, the peer who encounters the plagiarized passage may be able to judge his friend more leniently. Perhaps the researcher had a late night or simply forgot to credit the source appropriately. Conversely, a person who has a reputation for methodically misconduct is more likely to be judged harshly for plagiarizing because of his consistent past and unethical behavior. Utilitarianism theory. Jeremy Bentham was an early and influential advocate of utilitarianism, the dominant consequentialist position. A utilitarian believes in the greatest happiness for the greatest number. The choice that yields the greatest benefit to the most people is the choice that is ethically correct. Consider the following scenario. A doctor is working in an emergency room of a hospital. A homeless man is brought in with brain damage sustained in a traffic accident. The doctor recognizes him. The man has no family, and his physical and mental health is reasonably good. The doctor knows there is still time to save the man's life. He also knows that if he does not start treatment, the man will suffer brain death, and his organs could possibly be used to improve the quality or even save several other people's lives. Assuming there is no penalty associated with either choice, what would a strict utilitarian do? Save the man's life, or contact the transplant team to ready them to harvest any available organs? The doctor would allow the man to die and try to use his organs to save as many people as possible. This would bring the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people. Deontology theory, or Kantianism, is an obligation-based theory whose principal author is Immanuel Kant, who lived in the 18th century. This theory emphasizes the type of action rather than the consequences of that action. Deontologists believe that moral decisions should be made based on one's duties and the rights of others. According to Kant, morality is based on pure reason. As people have the innate ability to act rationally, they therefore must act morally regardless of personal desire. Another way of stating Kant's theory is to act morally regardless of the consequences. In the case of the doctor and the homeless man, again assuming that there is no penalty for either decision, what would a deontologist do? Save the man's life, or contact the transplant team to ready them to harvest any of the available organs? The doctor would save the man's life, as it is his duty to treat the patient. The fact that several people's lives might be improved by allowing the man to die would not justify making that decision.